This is the regular February meeting of the Davenport Public Library Board of Trustees. We're meeting in meeting room C of the Davenport Public Library, Maine. My name is Steve Hemming, President of the Board of Trustees, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is roll call and introduction of attendees. Malavika Shrikandi.
Present.
Amanda Motto.
Here.
Laura Guinness.
Present.
Judy Lance.
Here.
Michael Hustedy.
Here.
Sylvia Roba is excused. And Joe Heinrichs and Tom Engelman are not here yet, but haven't heard from them, so I expect them to be here soon. And my name is Steve Hemming again, and I am president. Also with us this afternoon, we have Lexi Reiling, the Assistant Library Director, Jennifer Williams, HR Operations Manager, Tracy Moore, Development Officer, Casey Shipley, Recorder, Izzy Noble, the
Early literacy coordinator.
Thank you.
I knew you'd get there.
I swear it was in my head before. Okay, thank you, Izzy. And Marion McGinnis, our liaison to the City Council. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Moving on. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move, Steve.
Thank you, Malavika. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Malavika?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
And my own vote is yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public with comment. Seeing no one, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is reports and communications. First item there is a report from the Friends.
I don't believe that we had anything to report.
Okay.
I couldn't be here today. Steve, do you recall anything from the meeting that?
Boy, I don't.
Insurance.
I say just insurance.
Oh, yes, there was a long discussion about insurance, but other than that,
Oh,
business as
yes.
usual.
Okay. So we'll move on from there. Next item under reports and communications is committee reports. Finance, Tom, not here yet. Okay, no one from finance. Personnel, Amanda, anything from personnel committee?
Nothing from personnel this month.
Okay, thank you. Next item under committee reports is advocacy. Malavika, anything for advocacy?
Nothing's been going on. Last week, we had the IDEA meeting, and as I'm a liaison of the board of the IDEA team, there was planning that went into about selection of various topics that they would share along with the staff for IDEA training, DEI training. And we will also be getting those links and via a LibGuide, and that LibGuide is a non-public LibGuide, which as soon as I get a link to that LibGuide, I will be sharing with you all. And there are some excellent topics that the staff has chosen. And the thought behind those links for information under DEI are going to be varied. It could be a short little note, a short little article, a podcast or a TED Talk, that's the plan. So it should be quick and, people can read, get the idea and move on. That was one. Second, I believe I gave all of you this little flyer, which is, and the reason I got this along was Jeff does have a point in one in his director reports about every campus refuge, and St. Ambrose University has taken part in it, and I got in talks with every campus refuge people and Danforth Public, how immigrants can come make use of Denver Public Library, the resources that we have for various things, that is, job applications, English language, checking out things and all that. So I've got Jeff and those people connected. And this lady who started Every Refuge ideology is going to be at St. Ambrose in the Rogalski Center, and it's a free program. It's open to public as well, so I just thought of sharing it with you all.
Thank you.
And lastly, as Judy pointed out today, thank you, I had forgotten all about it, is I am on the inaugural advisory committee of the Center of Nonprofit Excellence of the Quad City Community Foundation. And we advocating, helping for our library, friends of the library is my plan. And somebody who sat next to me during the very first meeting was Jenny Coleman of the Riverbend Food Bank. And we talked about how we had the food bank on site at Fairmont a few years ago. And they would like to do something if we are open to it in this coming spring and summer. So we had 2 food bank services for their guests that we did. And they would like to see if we would be interested in doing it again. And I said I would share it.
Okay.
So that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melvin.
Yep.
Okay.
I guess before we move on from advocacy, I was
Okay.
just gonna ask, I mean, should we, is now the appropriate time and place to be talking about any of the legislative and governance issues, and are there things we can or should be doing within this group? Or, I wanna be mindful of rules and regulations and staying in our lane, but I also know there's a lot that's happened in the last month on the state level.
Yeah, that's later in the agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Should have read the whole thing.
That's okay. Better hit it twice than not at all.
Yes.
Okay, so then, were there any questions for Malavika or comments on the report? Okay, swing back around then. Tom, anything on finance?
No, if you look at the budget recap, the overall expenses are running right at the percentage we are through the year, so would appear that things are running halfway normally. Not wood. And it is nice to still get the levy balance number on there, because it's nice for us to keep that amount in mind, because no matter what the legislature does, it's still specifically library money.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Sure is interesting how we had our nice finance committee meeting with city leaders that already knew they were leaving the city and therefore could tell us whatever they wanted in that meeting.
Yeah, well, Valerie Merritt's still here with us, so hopefully she'll carry on. Yes, okay. Any questions for Tom? Next item under reports and communications is the director's report. Lexi, can you fill in for Jeff?
I can, and Jeff's very sorry he could not be here today, but he did share all of his notes with me. The only thing from the director's report he really wanted to amplify was the first point about the children's area project, and that we did receive the final disbursements from Rochelle Murray's estate, and that actually put us over our fundraising goal. So we are now at $1.1 million. So in terms of that project, we are continuing to work with Virgin Group. They're working on plans for the main library, looking to install that here at Main this fall. And then at Eastern, since we do have the extra money, at the wall that they did in the children's area, stopped at about the halfway point where the big whirly gig is. But since we have some extra money, we are looking at expanding that all the way to that corner. And that's going to include some built-in reading nooks and other interactives that we think the public will be really excited about.
Wait, so is that gonna go along the windows?
Yeah.
You're talking about where the big?
Yep.
And that's on this side of?
Yep, so then it'll just go on the other side of the whirligig along the windows. Yep.
It'll block the windows.
No.
On the other side where the wall is. Got it,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Block the wall.
Sorry. Any other questions from that or anything else in the report?
I just want to say, lovely social media posts happening with the pictures. That's the newness that I'm seeing on Instagram, especially the videos. So, it's a good look of what you just said, what I saw this morning, and it feels good. It's not just the events, but how do we look inside? So that's lovely.
Thank you. Yes, Tessa posted one this
Yeah.
morning of Fairmont with the dragonfly whirligig going around. So she and the social media team have been doing some really creative posts to get the word out about all the new early literacy interactives.
It's beautiful, it's beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Next item under reports and communications is council liaison. Marion.
Yeah, most of what I just wanted to mention today are some things you've probably heard already, but I would encourage the library to think about communicating how to get to you with the roundabout coming, that's being done by the Arsenal, and that's coming at Second Street. And the work will start March through March of this year. I think it's about the 19th through July. That weird intersection that comes off the Arsenal Bridge and kind of does that, will be around, or traffic, whatever, I don't know the difference, but in any case. And I was surprised to hear it myself because the Arsenal, and I think everybody, the Arsenal doesn't always communicate, but they got a grant and it, I guess, was in planning for a while, had been in discussion, but nobody had any money to do it. So it'll be good when it's done, but it will impact, and probably that will be closed in terms, I would imagine, in terms of access during that time. So thinking about how you communicate, I don't know how the library tells people how to get here, but that might be a hey. And the other one, the other one is not a closure, but it is the, and it's exciting that this is happening, but it's River Drive. Starting yesterday, probably today, the traffic going either way between Tremont and West Third Street is restricted to one lane each way, and there's no turning off those lanes. And that has to do with, this is all about the flood resiliency plan and what's happening down there right now. At 18 feet as the water is not coming over, it's coming up from the sewer. So it's attached to the storm sewer, and it always has been. So this is a multi-million-dollar project to detach those two things so that that won't happen. So it is a really important part of the flood resiliency plan, and we did get the grants for it. And so it's starting. So that's happening there. And those, again, may impact how people might be coming through. Once it's a little bit far away from where you are. But, and speaking of flood, right now, the forecast is that it's gonna be a very light year. So unless there could be, so a ton of snowpack, it could be, tons of rain, but right now it is a very low chance this year for a change. And then this may not have come, I don't know if this has been emailed yet, but Party in the Park is back, and I know that the library is always an eager participant, and I am too. There'll be Cork Hill and Whalen, which there'll be 4 again this year. Cork Hill and Whalen, which we have been to before, but new are Thunderbrook and Lindsay Parks. So that's exciting, and I'm sure they'll be they just got it figured out last week, and you guys may know already, but, so I had gotten a call about it, so I'm trying to let folks know. So, I really don't have anything, and budgets continue. Thank you and also Jeff for your steadfast attendance. It's the only outside folks that come every single meeting, I think, and, we appreciate that. So, it is, as Administrator Merritt said, this budget year is unlike any because of all the changes of how, taxes are drawn and how the levies, and there's changes in levies and everything else, that this is a new budget process at the city for everybody. It looks good right now, but it will be delayed. It's usually, we usually have to, I'm sorry. Let me just, I'm so sorry, and I will, it looks like it's Pam anyway. Cut it off. Okay, there we go. We're getting cut off. In any case, so we usually approve it in March to be on the right cycle, but now the legislature added an additional mailing to everybody for a property. And so that mailing goes out, in early April, I think. So anyway, or late March. And so we didn't want to do it until that mailing had been done. So this is having to do with property taxes, which the rollback for property taxes this year is, or in the upcoming years, like 46 point something percent, which is much, much lower than it's been in recent years. So and the rollback is what is the multiplier that's applied against your assessed value to determine how much you actually pay in taxes, what you're paying taxes on. So having a lower rollback is better, but it's another strange thing this year. So we'll, with 5 new people on council, we have had, there's a learning curve, I think. So that we've been going back onto some ground that we have been on before, and that's fine, so people can catch up and understand, because there's always a lot of moving parts of the city. So anyway, so we're doing some of that as well. And again, I would encourage, and we have 5 new alder people. If they're not library familiars, then I would encourage you to invite them in and learn, if they don't know already, what a great organization the library is. So I did, getting up to what we're talking about next, or the legislation, I did send out to my third ward last day, an appeal when all the stuff is coming down from Des Moines. I do this in my private email. It's my own list, so I can say what I want.
Yeah.
And so I said, this is going on, here's the place you can comment, and I did share that information, and I shared it on Facebook as well with links, so, in my Facebook, so. In any case, anybody have any questions about anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Marion. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is new business. First item there is a motion to approve changes to the administrative policy 2.7, personal appearance. Do you have anything to add or enhance about this, Lexi?
I do. So at the end of last year, as we were doing staff performance evaluations, we asked all of our staff members what something that we could do would be to make it more pleasant to come to work. We want to boost morale, we want to have a pleasant experience for everybody. We got lots of great responses from staff, including people who said, it's already very pleasant to come to work, which is appreciated, but lots of really good ideas too. One thing that came up very often was the ability to wear blue jeans to work every day. And so we kind of looked into this, and that's very much in line with the dress codes of the other public libraries here in the Quad Cities area. We don't believe that will cause any, issues for customer service. In fact, it really speaks to our goals of inclusion and making people feel welcome at the library. So that's the primary change in this updated personal appearance policy, is allowing staff to wear blue jeans every day to work. Other changes are, right now our caretakers, assistant caretakers, and van drivers have to wear library branded polo shirts to work every day. We're going to remove that requirement. We don't think that's necessary either. Right now they have to wear polo shirts with the library logo on them. Our caretakers do, and we don't think that's necessary. So we want to remove that requirement. They can still wear them if they want, but they wouldn't have to. Specifying that hats shouldn't be worn inside in the public area. And then just cleaning up the policy a little bit to consolidate things like the outdoor events and activities section that's already covered in another spot in the policy. Right now we do allow our staff association to do fundraising by offering staff to wear blue jeans on specific days to raise money for different community organizations locally. So making this change with the blue jeans would mean that they would have to come up with something else. But we did add something to the policy that would allow for staff to wear t-shirts that have book or library or literary themes on designated days. So staff association could do that as a fundraising opportunity instead. I believe those are all of the changes.
motion to approve the changes to the administrative policy 2.7, personal appearance.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, Judy. Have a motion and a second to approve the changes to administrative policy 2.7, personal appearance. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. I see hats may not be worn inside, so is the default then that caretakers who are working outside are permitted to wear hats?
Yes, yeah, if you're working outside, if you're at an outreach event out in the community that's outdoors and you want something for protection, that's absolutely fine.
Anything else?
Question.
Yes, Michael?
Was one of the reasons that we may have had the requirement that the van drivers, for example, wear appropriate attire, meaning logo attire, was to be sure that an actual employee was doing the van as opposed to just anyone jumping in?
Great question, I'm not sure.
I mean, or is that an issue, not an issue?
Oh, I don't think that's an issue, no.
Sometimes they have a jacket on, too, so,
Yeah.
you know, but we all wear.
Yep.
Get somewhere.
Hopefully we're securing our assets.
Of course, yeah.
Key. That's a great question.
Yes.
But you might want to spiff up the van a little bit, because it sounds like nobody wants to drive it. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I think it's pretty cute, I don't know.
No, well, one of them is. One of them's just black and white. Anyway. Okay, so if there's no other.
This is can
Oh,
you
I'm
guys
sorry.
hear me? This is Amanda. Oh, that's okay. I was just gonna say I just noticed a small typo under the part where it's talking about flip flops. It looks like the word poses is misspelled. That's it.
Oh,
Oh,
last word of the sentence then. So we'll assume the motion includes cleaning up that little thing.
Yep.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote. Amanda?
Yes.
Thank you. Laura?
So as amended right now?
Mhm.
Okay, yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Michael?
Yeah.
Malavika?
Yes.
And my own vote is yes, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to discuss library-related pending legislation. Do you have anything on that, Lexi?
I sure do.
Thank you. Bring us up to
So,
date where we are.
so Friday was the first funnel, which means that any pending legislation that had been introduced this cycle had to have made it out of committee by that point in time to still be active. And it appears that the legislation that would have been most impactful to us, including the changes regarding library boards and their authority, the one about taking public libraries, not having the obscenity exemption anymore, those in particular, did not make it through the funnel. So those did not make it out of committee.
That's because all those people showed up, right? Bang, bang.
Unfortunately, I think they could,
Bring it back.
we still have to be aware, they can still be attached to a spending bill.
Yes,
That we
because-
have to, we can't let your guard down.
My understanding is, yeah, anything related to like spending or taxes is, exempt from that funnel deadline. However, this does seem like a pretty good sign.
What about ownership of property?
That part was in the original SSB 3131, and that one did not
Good.
make it through.
So what's
Yes.
left?
So what is left?
Vacation thing.
So the ones that
What
are
do we got?
left that would be impactful to us, someone has introduced HF 718, and that is an act allowing cities to impose a tax to fund a public library. That would reinstate our special library levy. And that one did make it through the funnel.
Okay.
So I believe since it made it through, there it goes to the Iowa Senate next, and we'll see if it continues on.
Yeah, that one, but that still would require a vote.
Yes, it
So
would.
we have to go through the process. The Friends went through back in 2003 to get the original levy imposed. It was a vote of the citizenry.
A referendum then.
Yes,
Okay.
Again,
again.
Oh.
Fortunately, Tom, I still have a sign in my garage. And now
I have it in my office in the
Now
back,
Rika has one
and I
too.
have three. One is a big one, two small ones. I'll get them.
jeez.
So,
It looks nice.
Does
The
the
sign is
term
good.
clown car mean anything?
Oh, really, yes.
So that one made it through. Another one that made it through is an act establishing the Iowa Imagination Library Program. If you're familiar with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, that one would require local funding for such a program. So that is a bill that made it through the funnel. And then SF 2320 made it through, and that is an act relating to contracts between publishers and libraries for electronic library materials. So my understanding of that one is right now, when we purchase ebooks through Overdrive for lending to our patrons, a lot of publishers are now requiring that those are metered access, which means after they are checked out to our patrons a certain number of times, we no longer own the title and have to repurchase it. So this bill would essentially be saying that they can't sell us those metered titles anymore. I am unclear though, and I think we were all a little bit unclear on how this would impact us in practice. Would that mean those titles are sold to us in perpetuity, or would we not be able to purchase metered titles anymore? So that's one to keep an eye on and to learn a bit more about, but that did make it through funnel. It looks like all of the other ones though did not make it through funnel. So HF 2040, and that was about the obscenity exemptions. And then the ones about library boards and their authority, which were HSB 678, SF 2176, SSB 3131, SSB 3166, and SSB 3168. All did not make it through funnel.
Lovely, good.
Yay.
I lost track of 3166. I don't know.
Yep.
That one was
There are a lot of them.
still going on.
Yeah.
But as you said, something could sneak back in,
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
Good at that.
In the meantime, just as a reminder, I know Jeff sent this out, or I think Casey sent it out as part of your packet, the advocacy toolkit. And this is not relating to any specific legislation. It's just a general tool for you to use as you're advocating for libraries in the community, because that's going to be important year round, no matter what legislation does or does not make it through the funnel. So this will tell you a bit about why it's important to advocate for your libraries. It's going to give you some tools that you can use, things you can share with folks that they might not know about their library. That's going to make them, see the importance of public libraries. Some tips in here for advocacy in general and how to speak with people who disagree with you on a topic. And then contact information for all of your local elected officials and statewide elected officials. So this is a new document. We did a lot of research into other library advocacy toolkits, particularly Cedar Rapids, which has a very robust one, and they were very helpful to us as we were putting this together. We've also got a page on the website now, so if someone wants to see this electronically, it is on our website under the About Us section, so you can view it there as well. And we'll put any information there about any other pending legislation that folks might want to know about that would impact us. And again, that's just us providing that information about the legislation and not advocating for specific legislation or against, since we cannot do that in our positions.
Do you, question, it does not appear that you have all the elected officials.
Ooh, who are we missing?
Yeah.
Under Iowa House Representatives, you only have 3.
Mhm.
I know you're missing the guy who was the Bondman was not there. And
Okay.
I think there's at least 1 or 2 more
Does,
that have districts that are part of.
Davenport?
In Scott County.
okay.
But yeah, the guy, Vondran, I think has part of Davenport.
Okay, I will look into that, thank you.
I will tell you that, and I think I said this before, but I invited Jeff to come a couple of months ago and talk about the library services, and he has a great road trip. And the people at the ward meeting were like, wow, I mean, they were really impressed. So I've mentioned that, I can't tell other ward people what invite him, but they're always looking for guests. And, you know, I don't have a lot of people, honestly, that come to the third ward meeting, but he really, you know, so there are wards that do, and he was wonderful, and people were really blown away. And so asked a lot of questions and walked out, and that was before all of this started stirring up. It was back last fall, so if that's, I can sure talk to, say, hey, if you're looking for somebody, he's great. So it was very well received and people were impressed.
Thanks for bringing that up,
Really good
Mary.
job.
I've spoken to my area councilman, and he's open to it to invite him, so thank you for bringing that.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Ben, yeah,
No, I don't think we have the same, I have 10.
we don't, oh, Ben,
Yeah, it must be Jersey Rangers.
yeah.
Yeah, I would encourage you when they have board meetings to, you know, just visit, let them know you're a library trustee, and, I mean, I, you know, try to get to city council meetings when I can, and, you know, people come to know you're associated with a library, and, you know, that helps a lot. I did, as far as the 5 new council members, I have spoken with 2 of them and asked them to come to the library and, you know, and take a tour and have Jeff show them around, and they're both interested in doing that. So hopefully we'll have some new advocates. So, okay, anything else on pending legislation?
It's just a suggestion, like, you know, these are so many numbers and so many bills, right? Like, you know, so Iowa Library Association actively puts out on literally a daily basis, like, you know, if we run out of numbers, we can check Iowa Library Association website if we want, or social media, Facebook. You know, they're very active in what they're putting up with explanations and things like that. So if we miss, you know, because there's so much going on. So Iowa Library Association, that's one. Sam Helmick, I believe you met her last time. She is a very wonderful person. I am volunteering under her committee for these, you know, the state governance and things like that. She is actively putting things out. So, you know, just sharing if, you know, we lose track of things for some reason. Iowa Library Association is very big fat in sending the latest updates, just in case if we need to look into.
Yes, and I have sent information to the mayor and interim city administrator, asking them to support being against the legislation. And they did not do that, at least that I could tell anyway. But Marion did. I sent a copy of it to her since she was our liaison.
I think it's tough for the administrator, as it would be for Jeff. But yeah, Mike, I don't know, maybe he was just had stuff, but anyway.
So, but anyway,
I know that there was a group of city elected officials who expressed opposition to
oh, good.
the one bill, I know.
Okay.
I saw that. There was a
Okay.
whole bunch of various older people and mayors of various communities expressed opposition to it.
Okay, good.
Because, you know, why would a city council member want this dumped on their lap too?
Right, I mean, it's like, really, yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I don't see any, you know, and my understanding is there was, you know, it got pushed to a referendum in a county that's relatively conservative or community, and the referendum said, no, we don't want this, and then, so they decided to try this, so how many times do you? People say, no, we think it was working pretty well.
Okay. Moving on, next item on the agenda is to discuss public with comment, as it appears or per our bylaws. Just thought this would be a topic to consider. the city is considering changing theirs. And just thought that maybe we should look at ours, not to do away with it by any means, we certainly don't want to do that. But just to go through the components of ours and maybe give them some thought, just to see where we stand with those. And so in looking at that, I counted like 6 pieces of that maybe we could talk about. And again, not necessarily to change them, but just to be sure that they're what we think they should be at this point in time. The first one was, part is like the second, starts with the second sentence in our bylaws. Those, this is in section 2, towards the bottom. Those wishing to address the board must make their request known to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting. I don't know if we need that. I mean, if somebody came in 10 minutes after the meeting started, would we say, no, can't talk? And in which case we, I guess, that's number 3 on the agenda, so we may not be there yet. But, so I guess that was just a question. The item that Malavika sent out, that she sent emailed just recently, talked about, thought I brought it. Anyway, here it is. It was talking about in West Fargo Public Library Board policy, that they had to register by noon the day of the meeting. And, that's probably even, more repressive, I guess. It said at least, and then they had a cap of only 12 people could speak.
2 minutes.
And we'll get to that just later, but, so it's good to know that people are there, but, we've never had a groundswell of people here, so I think we would know if anyone was here. We have had one person come to speak, a public comment that I recall, and it's been several years ago. And this lady came late, and I let her speak anyway. So that's how those things have come up. So that's something I think we may want to address, taking out. But I guess at this time, just want to know, was any other discussion about that or how other people feel? Tom?
If I could, there are 2 sentences in section 2. The second sentence reads, non-board members who wish to address the board may do so during the public with comment section. That's any person off the street who wants to come in and talk to us. Okay. And then it says those wishing to address the board must make their request known to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting.
Yes.
I guess I'm assuming that is in there if someone has something particular, like with a specific agenda item or whatever they want to bring up. That, or maybe they have some kind of special presentation of something. That's the way I read that.
Okay.
But I don't, it's almost like those 2 sentences are duplicative.
Okay.
To me, anyway.
Well, I think the first sentence is just kind of laying out that there is such a thing.
Right.
And then the rest of it is just details, I guess, as far as how it would be carried out, or what are the rules, if you will, or whatever.
And the 5-minute limit, I mean, like you say, we've never really had a flood of people wanting to address us, so the 5-minute rule really hasn't been that onerous, I don't think. And are you guys thinking of reducing your?
Yeah, so here's what, and you don't have to follow this. So what we went through, because we have had, you guys have seen this, the council meeting. So we got, first of all, staff did a rather extensive survey of allowable things it was, I don't know, about 10, maybe more different cities in Iowa. And how much time, if they did public with comment, if they didn't do public with comment, some don't do public with comment, some require people to sign up ahead of time, some limit the amount that people can, the amount of time. So it's the same thing, they say, you have to sign up and it'll be 30 minutes. It's limited to 30 minutes and you get 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. So some people bundle it like that. That was a little too much, we thought. So we have gone from, with public with comment, we've gone from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. And only, only at the committee of the whole, part of that was, a city council meeting. The committee of the whole is the meeting where we read all the agenda, so it can be very long. So we are doing it 2 times a month, and it's still on the agenda, but it's 3 minutes for each person. People do not have to sign up in advance, but they have to follow the rules of, alleged rules of decorum and courtesy and all that other stuff that we've always tried to uphold. They can speak on subjects on the agenda, and we are different. Every item on our agenda, we ask if there's public comment on, right? And so they can still speak on that, and they have 5 minutes, so that hasn't changed. But they have to speak to the thing that we're talking about, to the public with comment section at the end of the city council meeting. You can speak on anything on earth you wish. It doesn't have
Right in the water.
Exactly. Yes, you can speak on anything on earth.
That's at the end of the whole thing?
That's at the end. So it doesn't have to relate to the city. It has to follow decorum. It's supposed to follow decorum and all the other rules and guidelines that we have, which is speak to the council, you don't malign people, or anybody. Yeah, there is the same participation that we've always had applies to each agenda item. But when you're talking about an agenda item, you speak to only that, supposedly, to only that agenda item. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And actually, the public with comment section at the end is you can't go back to an agenda item. You speak on the agenda item when the agenda item's there. You can't go back to it at the end and talk about it again. You can talk at the end about something else. Even you can talk about every agenda item on our agenda, but you can't go to the public with comment and go back into the written agenda.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a good idea.
Well, I don't know, but we'll see.
So Marion?
Yes.
And there was some discussion of what is recorded and what is broadcast.
Correct.
So that public business at the end is not going to be recorded.
It will be recorded. It will not be aired live. So there was a debate about that. Some people don't air so the city of Davenport has aired its meetings live for a number of years and has streamed it. It's really streaming. I mean, it used to be on tape because that's the only thing anybody could do. And then it started airing it live. It also has it available on tape. The issue became with some of the things we were dealing with was people slanderous things, other kinds of things that if you're airing it live, potentially the city is liable because they are the ones broadcasting it. Now, if you decide you want to videotape our council meeting and include what people are saying, it's on you. The public slander potential is on you. It's not on the city council. So it will be, so that the public will comment will not be live, but it will be screened, and if there's nothing untoward or nothing slanderous, it goes on with everything else on the feed that's available after that. Does that make sense?
Laura?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing for the city. I think we're gonna look at this. I share your concerns, Steve, on that sentence on those wishing to address the board must make their request known to the board secretary prior to the meeting. Because my thinking is that's not very, for lack of a better word, like approachable, welcoming, and inclusive. Like if someone really is trying to join our meeting and they see that this, it's posted on Monday outside the library and it's posted outside the library director's door, and they show up at noon and they wait for the meeting to start, and they see there's an agenda item on public with comment, and then we say, oh, well, you didn't tell the secretary, and that's a person that may or may not be known to everyone. So I really would like us to look at that piece piece in particular, because I think it's,
I think in my mind, that's addressing someone who has like a special presentation that they want to present to the board. I mean, that sentence needs to be cleared up, because I agree, we don't want to have people who are just wanting to speak to us to have to feel like they have to tell us in advance.
But wouldn't be presentations be handled, that would be something someone would call Jeff or, or Steve and say, probably you, and say, hey, I'd like to do a presentation, and that would go on the agenda. I mean,
See-
wouldn't it, I mean, I'm not saying people shouldn't be able to come and sit down and say their piece. But
I'm not sure I share that interpretation. But I'm glad that we,
Right.
with each of our individual interpretations, are both agreeing that we need to look at this sentence, I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like we could, the simplest choice seems like we could simply omit that sentence and the paragraph would still function unless we wanna make additional changes, given what the city's doing. But
I think if we change that sentence, that second sentence, or it's third sentence actually, instead of saying those wishing to address the board, those wishing to address the board with a specific presentation must let us know in advance so that they can go on the agenda.
I guess I was thinking that, they're, if they had a presentation, is 5 minutes enough? And if not, I guess I would think maybe they could inquire about having more time. But like I said, I guess, like you said, also, we haven't had many people that want to do that. So.
And I'm just thinking this loudly here, is there a reason, I mean, I forget why, but I was thinking of the school board. The school board, you have to have it in writing when you go. Is it because there are many people, that's why they do it? I mean, I was thinking why people do it normally. So is this the number that is a lot many when they come to the school board, so you have to have it pre-written?
The city.
And we have no,
I
and city doesn't have.
no, we're not
City
doing
doesn't
that. That is what some cities do. We said that's to, if it, I guess one of the reasons why you're discussing this though is with everything that's happening around libraries, what if this board meeting becomes a target for, and it could, believe me, it could. But I doubt it, and I hope not. But, so I think this is, part of this is there's much more activity around library boards than there was, in some library boards, contentious. I would encourage you to think deeply about whether if someone comes late, that they're allowed to speak. Because if you do it for one, and the next time somebody comes and then where do you go? You need to be here. I mean, it's nice, but I'm saying, do you know what I mean? And I think that's just a thought.
Yeah, like one book banner could start, and then no friend would say, oh, go to the library, that's where they have all the book. That's, because that's kind of some people's agenda. Lots of people. But that would not be good. Start that little stream.
You don't have that.
So, how do you feel, Tom, about do you think 5 minutes for a presentation would be too little, or?
I think
somebody
that,
might-
to me, that seems adequate to, if you're presenting something, you should be able to distill it into 5 minutes.
Okay.
Come on.
Well, and if that isn't enough, then there could be a question raised, I
I mean,
guess.
I lived through 6 years on the city council, listening to endless discussions of fluoride in the water and,
Yes.
Nikki Bowles, and so.
Oh, that's her name.
You
Yes,
did, you
they-
were
they-
there.
Okay,
yeah.
so then I guess what I'm hearing that is maybe that sentence that said those wishing to address the board must make the request known to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting could be omitted.
that's my suggestion.
Just make it simple.
Okay. Well, consider that for future agenda item. And not to exceed 5 minutes. Okay with that? Any comment on that? Okay, I'll leave that one. Total amount of time for public comment may be limited. So, you know, if we had 25 people show up, how do you feel about putting a limit on the total time, which probably would mean that each individual person would be
You'd have to
less
let
than
them all
5 minutes?
speak, but be careful. You'd be violating their free speech.
Well,
I'm just
That-
saying.
I
Based on
think
experience.
the way it's phrased right now, that it can maybe change at the discretion of the chair. That seems
that is in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
that
exactly.
seems
And the
totally
portion,
logical.
and the portion of the meeting dedicated to the
Yes.
discussion or to the present, or to the public with comment may be changed at the discretion of the chairperson.
Right.
The original thought of that was that if there were a ton of people and we had items and people that were here for the agenda to make presentations, that we could move it to the end. Comment on that? Okay. Public comments must be germane to library operations. I don't think there's any opposition to that, I hope. Okay, and then also loud, threatening, personal, or abusive language will not be tolerated. Okay. And that we will not respond to any item that is, anything that is not on the agenda. However, the board president may elect to include an item on the following agenda, which we could do at any time anyways. Any other comments on this? Okay.
The only thing well, maybe you don't want to do this and maybe it's here. Do you say will be posted? The agenda will be posted or where or how early? Or do you not want to do that?
That's by open meetings law.
Okay, all right, okay.
Has to be
24 hours.
24 hours advance. in a
Okay.
Prominent place.
All right.
Okay. Just quickly, if I could, get some comment on a couple other items that came up when I was talking to Jeff here. That, well, let me see. Let me think. No, I can't do that because it's not on the agenda. We'll bring that up later. Okay. Let's see. So next item is president's comments. Next item on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda. Do you have any comments on any of these?
No, I didn't.
It's not with us anymore. Okay, so next item is president's comments. I'll be quick about this. Just some things that I just wanted to give notice, I guess, that over the next few meetings, I have some items I want to include on the agenda that you might give some thought to. One of them is how we select officers. We select officers every 2 years, and we've always had, I think 3 times, I remember we've had discussions on how we ought to do that, and we've never come to any great conclusion, so it's always come down to who's willing to do it, and anybody else want the job?
I know, yeah.
So anyway, but just maybe we should address that again. We've talked in the past about we could have a succession by officers of the board moving up. We could have nominations, we could have a nominating committee. So that's something I'm going to bring up for discussion in the future. Closed session for the director's evaluation, and if, Amanda, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good, okay. So one item I also want to put on the agenda in the future is closed session for the director's evaluation.
Okay.
I've gotten some information from the law librarian for the Iowa Library Association, that we should be doing ours differently perhaps, and it has to do with the irreparable damage part of the closed session law that we use. And I know we've discussed this in the past, a long time ago, but the thought of the irreparable damage was that could come up anytime during an evaluation in public session, and so therefore we should do it in closed session. Been advised that some library boards have been taken to the Iowa Information Board, Public Information Board, over that. And so I want to discuss in the future some, maybe changes of that. That would be perhaps have a committee, the personnel committee perhaps, but something less than the quorum of the board do that. And therefore avoiding the possibility of running into any problems over a closed session. And we'll maybe talk about that in the future. Yes?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Next item is just the thought of maybe things we might do if it happens that there is some legislation that would change how libraries are governed, what we might do in that environment. And then also wanted to make a pitch for, if you have in mind anybody who would be a good candidate to serve on the Friends Board, suggestions there would be welcome. And I guess that's all I have. And Izzy? Next item is board training. And so we have Izzy Noble, who is our early literacy coordinator.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'll keep it relatively brief with you guys. I do have a few pages that were included in the board document.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I did have a presentation. It is not currently up, but I'll keep this kind of brief for you and just highlight a few big points I'm sure all of you guys are already kind of know about the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. Some key aspects of the program overview. So some things we want to keep in mind for the program is going to be eligibility. So who is eligible for the program, age requirements, what qualifications we have for books, the availability through both paper and or Beanstack in terms of logging and program engagement as well, which is all in there. The key objectives that I want to keep in mind and really go with the objectives of the library as well are going to be the availability to everyone, what ages we impact. So we really designate based off of 3 main age groups, which are going to be infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, as well as logging books, and then our participation, which is a little different than the enrollment, which I'll get into as well. So the first aspect is the availability to all. So one thing that we always want to encourage is going to be enrollment. Enrollment does involve some sort of caregiver in registering a child, and so that could be a parent, that could be a grandparent, could just be a caregiver overall. The 2 ways that they could do that, the 2 application methods would be either through paper. We do have a paper application that you can fill out, a registration form. It's available at all 3 library locations. We also have one on our website that people can fill out and either print out and bring in. There is also access through Beanstack, and that's also available through our website, as well as a QR code that's available at all of the information customer service desks if people are interested as well, just to take them right to the app if they would like to add Beanstack to their phone or mobile device or computer. Key aspects about the child. Any child can sign up. So we do have people who come in asking and their child is not born yet. So prior to birth, we allow them to register, and then you can start actually logging books once the child is born. And then the cap for that is going to be kindergarten. So that's the written cap for documentation purposes and through Beanstack as well. Our cap age-wise is 7. So once a child turns 8, they are no longer counted as a participant through Bean Stack, and that's just for keeping that data in line. That is the big portion on enrollment. So in terms of partnerships, we have a lot of ongoing partnerships that we have established before I took on my position. The previous person who had it established some of the new ones that I'd like to point out that have been successful and we've really enjoyed. Working with the Genesis Birthing Centers, Visiting Nurses Association, which is great. Iowa Total Care, they reached out to us, which is awesome. They gave us $1,000 worth of Amazon gift cards to purchase books, 4,000 books before kindergarten, which was amazing. Lamar Advertising, we did a partnership with them, and we were able to have our campaign go much longer than expected because of donations that they gave in terms of time. And then we're working right now with the Riverbend Food Bank to hopefully establish a connection and create a story time that would be located at one of their locations. So that would be great. So that's our partnerships, and making sure that it's available through those different locations. That way people, if they aren't able to come to one of our 3 locations, they can still participate in our program. It's not limited to people who walk in to the library itself. So just some overall numbers for program enrollment. So in 2021, when the program was established, there were 560 people enrolled. 2022 saw 592 new registrations. 2023 saw 571. And then as of January 31st, we have 32 additional enrollments as of 2024. So the slight difference we have, so we were increasing from 2021 to 2022 in enrollment. We did see a slight decrease in new enrollment from the 592 to the 571. One thing to keep in mind, I think, is that the program, when it's initially set up, it had a lot. So I'm looking into different ways to make sure that that number does not decrease throughout 2024 at the end of it. When it comes to our age, so our birth to kindergarten, I want to make sure that all of ages that we are associated with the program have both in-house programs and outreach availability. So the first group, and we had to designate an age, so kind of in terms of looking at everything, so our infants, we've designated 0 to 24 months. So our in-house programs that are available to that age group are going to be our Lab Sit Story Time, which are Mondays at Fairmont. And was previously at ER Eastern location on Thursdays. Tired Parents with Babies, it's at Eastern from 6 to 7 p.m. Stories at Maine, which allows all ages. Our Nest Book Club, which takes place the first Monday of the month. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten graduation ceremony, which will take place once a year. We did it last year, and I believe both Steve and Laura, I think you guys both attended, so thank you for coming to that. We have it scheduled. It's not in lib count yet, but we hope to do that again this summer in August. In terms of outreach, one successful outreach thing that we did in terms of infants was go to the Lincoln Center Community Baby Shower. We had a lot of people who registered their either new infant or before they were born, and it was a huge success there. Some upcoming stuff. Over the summer, I've gotten approval to attend some of the Freight House Farmers Market stops with our outreach department. That way, we can hopefully sign people up there. And then I've been working with, in the last 2 weeks, have been working with our outreach department as well. They've asked me to pick the books that we're going to be using at the story walks, the 3 new story walks, and possibly have some sort of 1,000 book signage on that, but that's still in the works. For our toddlers, ages 2 to 4 years, some of our in-house programs are going to be our Walkers and Wigglers story time, and those are available at Eastern and at Fairmont on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Stories at Maine again on Fridays. We have a lot of one-off story times that include this age group. We have our Nest Book Club again, Mini Makers, which is a kit that can be sent home. That's a kit that'll continue to go through the end of this spring. And the one thing I'd like to point out with that is all of those kits are available at all 3 locations. And everyone who takes a kit also has the opportunity to get a free book as well, which is great. And that a lot of that has been due to the funding that we've gotten from, yes, Iowa Total Care, I blanked on that one. They were really great, so that way we can build the at-home libraries and increase literacy in that respect. We have a lot of sensory bins. We're hoping to work with people in the community to kind of move more towards sensory bins, kind of include individuals who might be on the spectrum or other disabilities to make sure that they have programs that are available. Again, 1,000 books before kindergarten graduation ceremony. In terms of outreach, last summer I went to several of our out and about February fun days. That usually is a little bit of a later age group. Freight House Farmers Market, Story Walk again. Our last grouping is going to be our preschoolers, approximately 5 to 7 years of age. In-house, we have our Skill Builder story time. That has been new this past quarter. In terms of everything, we have a good turnout on that. That is currently on Thursdays at Eastern. We have Stories at Maine, one-off story times, Nest Book Club, Mini Makers again, sensory bins, and then our graduation ceremony. Outreach events on that are all the same, except for one exception that'll be coming soon. I've been working with outreach in terms of possibly taking on some of their additional now partnerships with local preschools and daycare centers. They were nice enough to allow me to, going forward, take over the Children's Village. So I'll be doing the monthly story time that they have, that we're bringing to focus now. And then possibly taking on some of those additionally in the future. So that's something that's kind of in the works now. Age breakdown wise, I'll just kind of give a general summary. We've had a large increase in the amount of infants of 0 to 1 that have come and registered for the program, as well as just a general increase overall. And so age breakdown wise, we've seen large increases. One thing I'd like you to keep in mind is logging books. We have a lot of success with people registering for the program. And then in terms of logging the books, are they following through with that? So what question and one thing that people might come in with, or I like to really have everyone say and establish when they register for 1,000 books is going to be what qualifies as a book, which sounds a little silly, but I do want to go over. So generally, every single book that they read does qualify. So anything that's going to be read out loud to the child. So then we have let me start over. That includes digital books, so anything through Overdrive. It also includes Libby, so if they're listening to an audiobook, that counts. Any book read at story at night, during the day, if you're at a child care center, and then you can read the same book as many times as possible. And then, so if you read the same book 50 times, you can log it those 50 times. You're not limited by title, which people do sometimes get a little confused on. You can also, one great thing about Beanstack is you're able to catalog. So if you, at the end of a month, know you read 2 books at night the entire month, and there's, let's say, 30 days in the month, then you're able to log that entire amount on Beanstack at one time. We do have our paper logs at all 3 locations, and those are broken down based off of the incentive they'd get. The first log is automatically included with our registration incentive, which is our tote bag, and it has the first log for 1 to 100 books that we have. One thing that has been added is a storytime slide. So at the end of every story time that we have at the library, there is a slide at the end, and it says, don't forget to log your storytime books. It has a little QR code, and it just, in that way, we can kind of establish, oh, hey, Are you registered for 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten? If you are, awesome. Don't forget to log the book. It's really simple to do that because those count. And then if not, let us know. We'd love to have you kind of log or register, and then those books are included. We have seen an increase in books logged over time. Just in January alone, we've had 7,525 books logged, which is amazing. So we've had a lot of big increases in the amount of books logged by individual readers. So maybe not quantity overall. We did have a slight decrease from 2022 to 2023 in the total amount of books logged, but the numbers were high in terms of individuals. So we're seeing more people actually complete the program versus making it a little way through and then not completing it. So one thing that I want to kind of just go over slightly is going to be our participation. So participation to me is different than general enrollment. So when we are looking at enrollment, that's the registration piece. We get a lot of people with that. We're not arguing that that's not successful. So how can we keep it ongoing so that we move past that registration point? One big thing that's been there since the beginning is going to be our program incentives, which is established at the very beginning with our registration. At 100 books, they get our Storytime at Home kit. At $250, you get a book, and at $750, you also get a book. $500, you get a pennant, a little picture that goes on our board. We have it, again, all 3 locations. 1,000 books, you get a t-shirt, your picture taken again, as well as a little bracelet, and that all goes up on the board. Participation has gone up a lot from 2022 to 2023. Those charts, I know that it's a lot to look at, especially in such a small kind of amount, but I would encourage you to look at the participation charts that are included. They're the ones on the very last page in black. We had a huge spike in participation from February to August of last year. So I've looked a lot at what we were doing at those times to maybe what is that correlation for that spike in participation. We did have a spike, if you look to 2022, a little small one during the month of July. You see a little increase in June and August as well before it tapers off. And that is associated with summer reading, which makes sense because of the amount of promotion that we do. Last year, or in 2023, the spike really occurred in February. So what did we do in February that kind of shifted? And then it tapered off in September. So that continued through summer reading. So that's something I'm still working on trying to figure out, and then make sure that we kind of increase that. So in order to qualify as a participant in these numbers, they would have had to have logged a book during that month. So the monthly breakdown. So if they didn't log any books, they did not participate that month. So that's the big thing that I'd like to kind of keep in mind. That is all I have in terms of the information. If you guys have any questions for me?
Do you have someone besides you?
Yeah.
You know what? I do all of the programs that are listed that I said are the in-house programs. I don't do all of those. So I can't take credit for all of the amazing work that's being done. I also want to thank, I am not doing it all on my own. We have a lot of people in every single department that are doing great things. Customer service is the one largely who is both registering people who come up and ask questions, as well as handing out incentives, collecting logs, and all of that. So I want big thanks to them. They've been really welcoming. I've been able to attend several of their meetings that they've had just to make sure we all have a cohesive message going. Tessa and then Outreach before that have been great in terms of marketing. I hope to work with her more in the future for marketing purposes. And then the rest of the YS department and our other departments have also been great. But so it's really a team effort. But yes, I really want to kind of push our boundaries as much as we can. So there is quite a bit, yes.
So the people, I mean, say a story hour. Do you have just special people to come for that?
It depends. So for our story times, they're almost all at 10 o'clock. We do have consistent attendance. There's no registration required for those. The ones are Walkers and Wigglers story times. Those are at on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those usually see our highest attendance, and we'll get up to, I want to say like 60s to 70 people. That includes the caregivers being as present. Our lower numbers, so the lapse at story time is probably one of the ones that gets lower attendance. That one I do, and that's more due to just the age than anything else. And we do kind of market that one as a smaller one, but we can usually get highs of 40 individuals to that one, which is not consistent, but we do usually get at least 20 individuals to those.
Okay.
I can see children's campus at St. Ambrose. I mean, if I can help you in any way, go in there if, you parents want that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't have one there anymore, but.
Yeah, I know that Brittany, so our supervisor
Yes.
outreach, I know she has a child at the St. Ambrose Children's Village. She does the outreach for them. I know she does a monthly story time.
Fantastic.
But I'm hoping to work with both her and her team in terms of visiting all of those locations, at least give an opportunity to parents or caregivers, say, hey, this program's out there.
Right.
And then you can count the books being read during the regular day as well.
And I'm sure you're there at Y as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Ys are, I know that a lot of the Ys are included in that. I'm not sure if all of them are, but I know at least of two.
Oh, great.
There's only two that have daycare. It's the
Yeah.
ELC downtown in Palmer.
You know what, then it must be both of them, because I believe there's two.
Right. Yeah. And I was thinking, there's the education department at Ambrose, and they have the reading program that they teach the students, like, how they conduct in their, so I'm going to bring that up to them. How they take it, I do not know, but I'm sure you're going to bring that up, because
Yeah.
that's early literacy that they are taught
Yeah,
in
definitely.
there, so.
And I know that there
And I'll
was a
let you know
group
about
in,
it.
that sounds
sure.
great. There was a group that came in from St. Ambrose to our
Really?
eastern location,
Yeah.
I wanna say within the last month, and so they
Right,
took a look around, they looked at different books, and that was really interesting.
I'll
to
push
see.
more.
As a new parent, I've been really impressed, being on this side of the equation, seeing the early literacy and outreach efforts. We enrolled our daughter in the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten, and it was such a great experience. And obviously I'm in the library, all the libraries all the time, but my husband was like, wow, that was really great. And I personally was really happy to see at the end of our first time attending Lapse at Storytime, the QR code and reminding people to link it, because I was like, oh, it's so lovely to see that library programs are feeding on each other and building together. So I mean, it's really incredible. I would suggest maybe when you're signing people up, maybe even it's just part of the speech to tell customer service, you don't have to log them every day, but maybe try and do it once a month, because if you're tracking it once a month, I just looked. Okay, we don't read every day. The mom I thought I'd be and the mom I am, right? But we read more often than not, but the last time that I logged was the 29th of November, and that's just because that's just the way, I mean, we've been at the library, we go to the library every Saturday, we go to one of the libraries every Saturday. So I think maybe just building that in the board, but if you're gonna use these statistics to make sure that we have really good data. And I don't know if it needs to be as direct as, please make sure you log once a month because these are the numbers we're tracking. But if it can be built into you don't have to log them every time, but we see as a best practice, parents that log once a month tend to have, more active participation or more accurate results or whatever. I think that might help us get a better output.
No, I agree completely, and that's smart. That's one thing I do try kind of to remind people as well. I should bring that up at a customer service meeting. I'll check into, I know that they have those usually monthly. I'll see about attending their next one, because I like to kind of check in with them anyways to make sure there aren't any questions that they have. I'll definitely bring that up. That is something I do talk to parents or caregivers about usually. If I'm the one after story time, they'll be like, well, I haven't done it. I registered them maybe when they were born. I have not logged anything. So they do sometimes have that thinking where maybe their enrollment has expired, which is not the case. So I think that's a great suggestion. And monthly seems a lot more doable and achievable than maybe an everyday occurrence as well.
Do you do any engagement with I know that it's a really fun one. I was trying to think of what would be added value that might help maybe encourage the monthly or reaching out. So do you have any ability to reach out on social media to the parents, either maybe saying, hey, it's, here's your monthly update. We have these new books. I mean, so like promoting maybe new children's titles that, remember to log in, something like that. So there's value to them, not just another annoying.
So, no, I 100%
Or text
agree.
or whatever.
I have two components to that. First being, we use Patron Point as a newsletter system. 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten does have a newsletter that goes out. I will say that the way in which that is sent out is via email that we receive through the registration. We do have some typos usually on those or some issues, so we try to get that out to as many people as possible, and that promotes our story times and events, logging, and then usually 3 books are promoted that kind of fit some sort of theme for the month as well. The other aspect of that is something that I've kind of established in the last couple months, but I hope to work with Tessa, our new social media, our new marketing coordinator on, is going to be, we do have 2 ways for people to kind of earn a free book. There's 2 monthly drawings that I don't think that we've gotten a lot of attention drawn to because we've only kind of been doing a little bit of signage in the libraries, and I think it's something that we should kind of focus on more. One being, if you log throughout the month, if you log, you're automatically entered into a monthly drawing to win a free book. So possibly showing a selection of 3 or 4 books that are available that could be earned. And that would be through Beanstack, which we try to encourage through Beanstack anyways, just because it seems to be more applicable and then we can, for data purposes. The other way to earn a free book would be if you kind of highlight or put some sort of comment in on social media and kind of on the library's page and mention 1,000 books. So one, either comment or what's a good story, something going on with your child in the program. So that would be 2 separate drawings that take place every month. So I think pushing those through social media would be a good way to kind of increase logging that month and possibly more visibility.
And what's when you go to an event, what's a good sized event for you to manage? What kind of event do you look when you're going to promote it? And what's a successful outcome? Is it 5 people signing up or 2? I know it depends on the size, but what's
It all depends. So I'd say, let's say for a traditional story time, I'm happy if I get 1 person to register, usually because the people that we do have that come to story times regularly are already registering. When it comes to big events, let's say a party that's being thrown by the YS department, I'd like to see sometimes around 5 people register.
Right.
That can vary based off just because there is a lot going on. Outreach events, my goal is always to have 10 people register. It varies on occasion, and that's just a personal goal. In terms of how many people attend, we could have anywhere from 5 to I want to say 100, depending on what the stuff is. So it really is overall very individualized. The community baby shower, for example, I want to say I got a single event. I had 81, I want to say 81 people register that day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it really depends on the audience who's attending, whether it's at the library or not, and so it's very flexible in terms of those things.
Laura?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of the Tired Parents, the new program that just started. That was the week that the flu hit our house, so we didn't make it. But we hope to attend soon. But something that is interesting to me is it seems like a lot of the story times are during the workday and during the week. And I know, like, for example, Bettendorf has a standing 10 a.m. story time on Saturdays, and obviously we're not open on Sundays. But is there any additional thinking or any goal, or are there ones that I'm not aware of that are happening outside of the workday for working parents to be able to attend?
Yeah, Tired Parents with Babies was kind of my thought as well, and that was kind of something
That's the new, yeah.
Yes, and that's one that I really wanted to focus on, and I brought up because I had that same thought. I did have someone mention during our Labs at Storytime, hey, I work all the time, I'm going back to work. I'm so sad we can't attend any more of those things. And so that was the thought there. Participation in terms of numbers have been really low for that one. I've heard a lot of interest from people. We've gotten a lot of phone calls of people interested. And anyone with kids knows that intention is always there and you want to go, but then it has to work perfectly with your schedule at that time.
And it's only been going for like a month, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we did have some weather issues in
Mhm.
January, so I don't want to discount that
Yeah.
either. That was just a mess overall. And it's a new one. A lot of times they do take some time to pick up steam. I do have some events on Saturdays. This coming kind of just overall spring, I am doing a lot of one-off story times that are occurring on Saturdays, and that is specifically in the hopes of getting people who maybe aren't able to go during the workday. So you should hopefully see some more events coming up on Saturdays, because I do want to take that into consideration as well.
Great,
If
thank
I
you.
could, if you have any other questions, maybe you could catch Lizzie after the meetings and wrap it up. So people go back to work if they need to. Anyway, next item on the agenda is to adjourn, so.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for your
No,
time.
thank you. I know it was a
Thank you
lot,
very
so
much.
thank you for having me.